Hello and welcome. Whenever and from wherever you are watching, we are glad that you are with us. I'm gathered in spirit with my ministry colleagues from the other United Churches in the city of Barrie, Ontario. Our congregations were not able to gather for our Easter sunrise service this year as we followed the physical distancing guidelines. So we thought we would create this message as a reminder of our working together while we are apart. For as Easter people, we are called to always find ways to live the good news of resurrection. We have each chosen a hymn from Voices United that speaks to us personally of the hope of our faith that we share and that strengthens and guides us during the COVID-19 pandemic. My name is Andrea Wheaton, and I serve in ministry at Burton Avenue United, and I've chosen number 282, Long Before the Night. Here are a couple of lines and verses from that hymn. Long before the night was born from darkness, long before the dawn rolled on steady from fire, long before she wrapped her scarlet arms around the hills, there was a love. This ancient love was born. Long before the grass spotted green the bare hillside, long before a chain was forged from the hillside, long before a voice uttered freedom's cry, long before the name of God was spoken, long before a cross was nailed from a tree, long before she laid her arms of colors across the sky, there was a love. This ancient love was born. And it ends with this ancient love, this aching love rolls on. I connect deeply to the words, I think, because of the feminine image of God in this hymn. As a mother, I know that my love for my son was there long before he was conceived, before he was born, and that love brought him into my world, into a world that I knew would bring pain and suffering and moments of sorrow for him. But I also knew that my love would never let him go and would wrap around him through life's struggles and help him to find his way through, help him to live hope and embrace life because of the love I would surround him with. And I think that if I felt that way about my son, then I knew that the strength of God's love would do the same for me. I needed that reminder when I first heard that hymn at a very difficult time in my life. It was a time when everything that was good and filled with life and love collapsed and folded in on itself. I felt alone and vulnerable. And I wondered and I questioned how and where God was present with me in the midst of the struggle and the pain. And when I heard the music and the words together, I felt immediately comforted and reassured and deeply moved by the promise that the story in that hymn tells. It's a story that tells me that I was part of and embraced by an extraordinary and ancient love that was there long before my pain, long before any pain, long before the struggles and difficult times that many are experiencing today. It also tells me that the strength of this love is still present and would be present forever. It is there offering life and hope in spite of death and despair. This hymn reminds me still that both life and love requires us to take great risks, that life is at times vulnerable and very fragile, and yet this ancient love is there to strengthen us. And not just me, that ancient love calls me, it calls us to be the arms that still reaches out to heal the world today. It calls us to reach out with love and compassion and kindness and caring and courage and generosity to hold and heal the world. And as I am wrapped in that loving embrace, of that ancient love. Indeed, I will continue to be guided by that love as I serve with open hands and an open heart those who are most vulnerable during these times. Thanks be to God. And I pass my hymn book.
Thank you very much, Andrea. I am Hewitt Holmes, and I'm in ministry at Collier Street United Church. I join with my colleagues in this expression of love and hope. I have chosen Voices United 958. 3 words. I invite you to listen to those 3 words. This is the chorus of the original, written in 1996 by one who I know very well, George Mulrain, a scholar and hymn writer from the Caribbean, one who taught me when I was in seminary. Written for the world, it is an expression of praise to God, the God who journeys with us in this Easter, the season that can be the best and worst of times. 3 words that remind me of an attitude of adoration of the Creator and an attitude of affirmation of creation. 3 words that attest to God's peace in a context of upheaval and uncertain living. 3 words that affirm our call to be persistent in a context of insensitive living. 3 words that remind us of the purpose that we have to pursue in a context of exploitative living. These 3 words are words of hope for me in this time, and perhaps hope for you too. And like the psalmist, I'm perhaps inviting you, let everything that has breath praise the Lord. For these 3 words are expression of praise to God. I invite you to sing Ale, 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 today and always.
Thank you, Hewitt and Andrea, and hello. My name is Jeffrey Dale, and I work in youth ministries at Grace United Church and out in Shining Waters Regional Council. The hymn I've selected for today is How Great the Mystery of Faith, and in particular, the 2nd verse, which states, attracted by life's deepest claim, we wait, assembled in this place, with needs and hopes we cannot name, a thirst for healing, truth, and grace. This day and all days throughout this public health crisis, we search for community healing and for the assemblance of truth. We are grateful and hopeful that the people in power in our community, in our county, our province, and in the country are making decisions that are right and just. Thank you to those who are working in hospitals, in clinics, and in long-term care facilities. Thank you to our community partners, especially those who are engaged in support and connection with the most marginalized in the city of Barrie. And thank you to the Simcoe Muskoka District Health Unit for their intentional education of the community and reminding us of the importance of public health as we assemble our lives into spaces of isolation And may we recognize the needs of our community, and that through trust in healthcare professionals, we will be led to a time of healing.
Thank you, Jeffrey. My name is Susan Eagle, and I'm in ministry at Grace United Church, and I'm pleased to be able to join with fellow clergy today in Barrie as we represent the United Churches of Barrie and are able to come together, particularly in a time when it seems that we are so separate from each other, and yet we find ways creatively to share in ministry. The hymn that I chose for today, one of two, the first one is from Voices United, and it's from 381, Spirit of Life. And I'm going to read you those words. It's only one short verse. Spirit of life, come unto me, sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. I love this hymn. I love it because of all the emotions it stirs in me. Whenever I sing it, I find myself in an outdoor space somewhere. Perhaps in the woods near the cottage church that I've known all my life. I feel the tall trees moving in the wind above my head, surrounding me with protection and comfort. And that opens my heart to love and protect all that is around me. I hear the waves lapping on the shore as they brush against the sand and rock of the shoreline. I hear familiar sounds and I feel God's love and protection all around me. The hymn makes reference to roots. Roots. The words, roots hold me close. That reminds me that there is a solid base beneath me that has nurtured and sustained me all my life, like a mother's love. My roots give me courage and strength to fly. So the reference to wings setting me free, it gives me a sense that I can step out beyond the roots of what I have known and with enthusiasm and hope face new challenges and grow as the person that God intends for me to be. The hymn finishes with the line, Spirit of life, come to me. It reminds me that God is always in action, moving toward me, moving toward you, moving toward us as we travel. Spirit of life is one of my favorite hymns in its simplicity and its affirmation. Also a good hymn for us as we celebrate Earth Week. The other hymn that I picked, and it's come to me in the last few days really, because of the increasing news of sadness that we've had here and across Canada. And that hymn is number 278, In the Quiet Curve of Evening. In the quiet curve of evening, in the sinking of my days, in the silky void of darkness, you are there. In the lapses of my breathing, in the space between my ways, in the crater carved by sadness, you are there. You are there. You are there. You are there. A hymn that I have loved since I first heard the words and listened to the haunting melody. But even more appropriate now as we hear of the deaths in Nova Scotia and the new case of COVID-19 that's here in Barrie at a nursing home, where I have both family members and also members of my congregation. God, in the silky darkness, in the lapses of breathing, in all the spaces where there is sadness. God who pours God's Spirit into every pore and crevice of our living. Sometimes sadness is like a crater in our soul. It is good to be reassured that God is in that crater with us. filling all the space with the surrounding arms of love. I find hope there to know that God is always with us in our living, in our sadness, with us.
Thank you, Susan, and thank you to everybody. The nice thing about going last is I get to be buoyed by all the expressions of hope and faith already expressed, and they've all been beautiful. My name is Phil Dallamer. I'm in ministry at Northwest Barrie United Church, and you know, it's funny, I always find as much as I love what is new and modern in our United Church, often in difficult times, I found myself going back to older, more traditional expressions of song and verse. And example of that was a few years ago. I had some health problems and I was at RVH and I had to have an MRI, as so many of us have. And I thought I was going to be fine. And then as they wheeled me into that big cone and there was darkness and there was that knocking sound and everything sort of was shut away. I felt myself getting very anxious and nervous. And all I did was I started to find myself reciting Psalm 23 over and over again. That concept of God walking us through the valley towards the other side. And I found just in the repetition, I just found myself calming down and just getting my breath back and feeling more peaceful. I think sometimes music and verse have an amazing way of just physically calming us down, as well as feeding us emotionally as well. So kind of based on that passage, the hymn that I chose is definitely a favorite of mine, and it's number 670 in More Voices, or Voices United. And it's Precious Lord, Take My Hand. And let me just share the first verse. Precious Lord, take my hand. Lead me on, let me stand. I am tired, I am weak, I am worn. Through the storm, through the night, lead me on to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. And I discovered recently that this was also a favorite hymn, or the favorite hymn of Martin Luther King Jr. And the night that he lost his life when he was assassinated, the last words that he spoke were to ask if that hymn could be sung at a church service he was going to attend that evening. And then, of course, a few days later, it was sung at his funeral. And I think of Martin Luther King Jr. as a great hero and somebody who faced huge storms and stresses in his time and always found a way to keep focused on the light and on what was important, and rallying people to a cause greater than themselves, and had such deep and profound faith and love for life and love for others. And I also think of all the heroes today that are leading us through that valley, through all that they're giving and sacrificing, and all of their stories and all of what they're doing are also a great source of hope and a reminder that God is taking us by the hand and leading us through this valley towards the other side. So that's a little bit of what hope means to all of us. What does hope mean to you in this time? On behalf of all of my colleagues, of Hewitt and Andrea and Jeffrey and Susan, I'd like to wish you and all the people that you love the very best as we get through this together and as we continue to love and care for each other, even from a distance. For where there is love, there is hope. And where there is hope, there is light. And where there is light, there is always God. So blessings to you all and thank you.